Chapter 7 of Aristotle's Masterpiece by Pseudo-Aristotle. This LibriVox recording is in the public domain. Chapter 7 of Errors in Marriages, Why They Are, and the Injuries Caused by Them. By errors in marriage, I mean the unfitness of the persons marrying to enter into this state, and that both with respect to age and the constitution of their bodies. And therefore, those who design to enter into that condition ought to observe their ability and not run themselves into inconveniences. For those that marry too young may be said to marry unseasonably, not considering their inability, nor examining the forces of nature. For some, before they are ripe for the consummation of so weighty a matter, who either rashly, of their own accord, or by the instigation of procurers or marriage brokers, or else forced thereto by their parents, who covet a large dower, take upon them this yoke to their prejudice, by which some, before the expiration of a year, have been so enfeebled that all their vital moisture has been exhausted, which had not been restored again without great trouble and the use of medicines. Therefore my advice is, that it is not convenient to suffer children, or such as are not of age, to marry, or get children. He that proposes to marry, and wishes to enjoy happiness in that state, should choose a wife descended from honest and temperate parents, she being chaste, well bred, and of good manners. For if a woman has good qualities, she has portion enough. That of Alcmena in Plautus is much to the purpose, where he brings in a young woman speaking thus: I take not that to be my dowry, which the vulgar sort do wealth and honour call, that all my wishes terminate in this: I'll obey my husband and be chaste withal, to have God's fear and beauty in my mind, to do those good who are virtuously inclined. And I think she was in the right, for such a wife is more precious than rubies. It is certainly the duty of parents to bring up their children in the ways of virtue, and to have regard to their honour and reputation, and especially to virgins when grown to be marriageable. For, as has been noted, if through the too great severity of parents they may be crossed in their love, many of them throw themselves into the unchaste arms of the first alluring tempter that comes in the way, being, through the softness and flexibility of their nature, and the strong desire they have after what nature strongly incites them to, easily induced to believe men's false vows of promised marriage, to cover their shame, and then, too late, their parents repent of their severity which has brought an indelible stain upon their families. Another error in marriage is the inequality of years in the parties married, such as for a young man who, to advance his fortune, marries a woman old enough to be his grandmother, between whom, for the most part, strife, jealousies, and dissatisfaction are all the blessings which crown the genial bed, it being impossible for such to have any children. The like may be said, though with a little excuse, when an old doting widower marries a virgin in the prime of her youth and her vigour, who, while he vainly tries to please her, is thereby wedded to his grave. For, as in green youth it is unfit and unseasonable to think of marriage, so to marry in old age is just the same, for they that enter upon it too soon are soon exhausted, and fall into consumptions and divers other diseases. And those who procrastinate and marry unseemingly fall into the like troubles. On the other side, having only this honour, if old men, they become young cuckolds, especially if their wives have not been trained up in the paths of virtue, and lie too much open to the importunity and temptation of lewd and debauched men, and thus much for the errors of rash and inconsiderate marriages. End of chapter 7.